I'm Jim Pankowitz. This is Kathy Crosby. Kathy, thanks so much for taking time to have this conversation. I started out with the idea of trying to create connections with people at Trinity and help build connections, to talk about prayer, to talk about faith, to talk about what's next in the next life, and get to know each other. How'd you get to be here at Trinity, and what's your background, things like that. So I do want it to be a conversation. So if it's okay, I'll jump in and start.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself.
How far back are we going?
As far back as you want. This is, there's about 55 minutes of battery and about, seriously, and I have extra batteries. And there's also an hour and 45 minutes of storage.
Oh, gee. Well, I was thinking on the way here today about talking to you about, I was thinking about what do I want to think about, do I want to take notes, do I want to make sure I say this and this and this, because I was thinking about it over the last week, and then I thought, no, I just want to be more spontaneous. But on the way here I was thinking about church in my life, and when I can remember first going to church, and kind of how it's progressed. And so when I was little, my best friend's dad was the minister of the church that we attended, and it was a community church. And so I went to church all the time, to Sunday school, and my family went to church sometimes with me. I remember mostly being in the church with her, not my family. And I used to think, I remember my earliest thoughts about Jesus and God. And
How old were you then?
I was probably in kindergarten or something, I don't know.
Very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
And it was in Sunday school, and the Sunday school was run, well. It was pretty big. A lot of kids went to it. I don't know how many people attended the church, 100 or so, maybe a couple hundred. And one of the things that I first remember about it was that learning that God sees us and thinking, He's watching me, And I just didn't really know how to take that.
Was it scary or comforting?
It was not either one, really.
Oh.
I just wondered what that meant, and where is He, and how does that work and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the oldest. There was just two of us, but so I was, being the oldest, I was the good girl and always did everything right and stuff. And then that leads me to thinking about going to camp, doing everything right and stuff. I went to camp, and I can't remember what camp it was, but I what's the word?
Distinctly?
Distinctly remember. We can take that part out. Distinctly remember going to church, must have been church camp, and writing letters home to my family, my parents, and telling them that they needed to ask Jesus to be in their heart.
Wow. And how old were you when you were doing that?
Grade school, somewhere in grade school, I guess, probably like 5th or 6th grade or something.
Was it non-denominational?
Yeah, and I don't even remember the camp. I just remember, and you know what I think it probably is? I probably found the letters later that my mom kept.
Wow.
And I was very worried about my family.
Okay.
And that's when it was scary. It was like, you need to do this. Because my dad didn't really go to church. My mom's family, they were Episcopalian. My grandparents were Episcopalian. And then when I got older, I liked going to their church better than my church because of the...
And it was an Episcopal church? Okay. Where was that?
In the same town, Prineville, Oregon.
Little
Town. But I liked the Episcopal church better because I liked all the ceremony and everything that went along with it.
The rituals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that concerned me. Yeah. And we didn't talk about it at all in my family, you know. And, but yeah, that was important. That was important. And, so then I went to Episcopal church often with my grandparents. I was with my grandma a lot. My mom was sick when we were young. And I loved it. My grandma was on, I don't think she was on altar guild, but she arranged flowers, and I know she did that in the church. And so I have that connection with her for altar guild, and that really touches my heart. And so then we moved, and we went to a Presbyterian church, and that was fine, you know.
Mom and Dad moved?
Yeah, our family moved, and we went to Episcopal or Presbyterian church a little bit, and I went with my mom, and I just remember she and I being there. She loved to sing, so I remember her voice, you know, really loud. And I don't think my dad ever really went, and I don't know where my sister was. She was probably with us. And then, like, going to church. And then...
How old are you at this point?
This is 6th, 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting to junior high.
Yeah. And then we moved again when I was a sophomore. And I don't remember going to church the next few years after that. And then in college, a little bit, but I don't really remember that. That was in Southern Oregon, and then I didn't go my junior and senior year, and then I moved to San Diego after college, and I went to the Episcopal church with one of my friends that I knew she lived in Portland in Oregon, and she went to the Episcopal church down there, so I went to that church with her a little bit. But it wasn't a big part, you know, of my life all through there. I attended, and I knew it was important, and I wanted to be there, and I wanted to go, but I didn't ever go find a church and then go every Sunday.
Do you feel it's a big part now?
Oh yes, it's much bigger.
Okay.
It's really, really changed, really different. I'm kind of, when I think about it and I talk about it, I tell people I gotta go to church or whatever, you're gonna do this, I'll be at church, or I can't do that because I have church. And I'm like, I'm saying these things, you know?
I do. Yeah. Wow. I grew up, Kate and I are cradle Catholics. We were baptized Catholic, confirmed, went to Catholic grade school.
Wow.
She was in San Francisco, I was in Seattle. My parents, their parents, their parents' parents, as far back as they knew, everyone was Catholic. All four of my grandparents were immigrants and didn't speak a word of English when they got here. Whew, boy, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they did it. Especially my dad's parents, because right up to the end, they still hardly spoke any English. And he grew up on a farm that had an outhouse and a well.
Mm.
And that's in Pierce County, not in Appalachia. That's here in Washington. It's amazing. But we grew up on Beacon Hill in Seattle, and I attended Catholic school. Kate attended Catholic school. I went to public high school. She still attended church. She went to Catholic high school. We met at Seattle U, a Catholic university. And while I was there, I attended a lot, because there was mass all over the campus. You could go to mass any day of the week, twice a day if you wanted. So I was attending quite a bit, and felt good about that. Was starting to have, back then, that's a long time ago, that's the 70s, that's the early 70s, starting to have some concerns about, not about my faith, but about the beliefs of the church, of the Catholic Church. My faith continued. And we raised our kids. We have 3 kids. They're adults. We raised our kids in the Catholic Church, and they're baptized, they're confirmed. And we reached a point, we were reaching a point 2015, 16, 17, where we were getting, especially me, more and more frustrated, and just hit a point in 2019, just said, there's too many things about the teachings of the Catholic Church that we don't think are consistent with the teachings of Christ. And so we looked for an alternative, and we came to Trinity. I've really enjoyed the people that we met a lot. Particularly appreciate Pastor Rachel, and feel like the teachings of this church are more consistent with the teachings of Christ. We feel very good about that. And more than we anticipated, the rituals, the ceremonies you almost don't know that this is a different church. I mean, so many things are...
The Catholic, compared to Catholic.
Yeah, so many things aren't just similar, they're virtually identical. And even Rachel grew up Catholic. So her story is very interesting to us. Yeah. You said church is really important to you now. How about faith? What would you say about that, faith and prayer?
It really has, it's kind of, again, like that struck me how much it is.
Struck you when I gave the proposal, you mean?
Well, that when I think about, when I hear myself saying I can't do that this weekend, I have church, or
yeah,
and then I think when I think about through my day, I pray a lot more than I ever used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it gives me peace. It helps me stay grounded. My mom passed 2 years ago, and I hate counting that, so I'm not even sure if that's right, but she passed in March. And she was like religious and wanted to, have that for our family. It was important for her to bring us to church.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's family wasn't. But so she taught me about that. And my aunt, who I was very close with, also passed. She went to the Episcopal Church regularly, and I started going with her actually when I was in college. I forgot about that. And I was even taught Sunday school there for a while in Portland. And it was really important for me to be there with them, with my aunt and her family. And then they asked if I would do a Sunday school class, and so I just did, and it was just, and that's where I got confirmed there too, in my early 20s. And it's an important thing, because I just know that it's not just us in this world that we see. I know it's more.
What do you mean?
I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's like I know people who don't go to church or believe in God and stuff, and any of this whole thing, but I don't understand how they can not. It's sort of like you think that this is it, this is this life,
and then it's over.
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah. No, I don't.
And that there's not a higher power, not something bigger than us in this world. And I just know that there is. And Bishop Curry talks about love, and I think that's part of it. And a long time ago, I was thinking about this too. I was at a friend's house, and we weren't very close with them, but I remember in the kitchen seeing above their stove was this little plaque thing that said, "God is love." And I saw that. I read it when I went in their kitchen. I thought, what does that mean? What does that mean? God is love. But now, the more I think about it, and I'm older, and I'm more understanding of that that's what I think is this bigger thing than we are. And that God is in love. And when we are loving and love each other and things, then that is living through God, or, you know,
God living through us.
yeah. And so I just hope that people could feel that and have that, like you say, I think it's a sense of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say the Lord's Prayer so much. I listen to the National Cathedral. They have a morning prayer on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And Morgan, my daughter, turned me on to that. And we send it back and forth to each other. So that every day now, it's not been a long time, it's been a month, we listen to it every morning. And at first I was making a big deal, and I was going to sit at the kitchen table and I was going to watch it on TV, light a candle on the table and watch it, you know. But life got busy in the morning before work. So now but I still listen to it, and it's important, and I don't want to miss it. And I listen to it every day on the way to work, on my drive to work. It's short.
Mm-hmm.
And they say the Lord's Prayer in it every day. And they have a gospel reading and other prayers and talk about saints or different things like that. But it's those kind of things that are in my life now that are really important and help me stay focused and have this being of
Grounded and centered.
yeah. It's more than it's more to my life than just work, you know, and it's really the relationships and people are what I thrive on. And then having the connection and love with those people are what's the best, you know.
Mm-hmm. I've been praying since I was little, you know, but we were taught to pray, wrote,
Mm-hmm.
memorized prayers, which I learned and said for years and years and years, for decades, and realized as I was getting ready for this and talking to Kate that we started talking with each other about, because we pray out loud together sometimes. Well, pretty much every day we do pray out loud together.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. But then we started talking about, well, how do you pray when you're just praying by yourself? And we both said we pray a lot during the day. And until she asked me, she said, well, which of the prayers you memorized do you still say? And I realized almost none of them. And not because I refused to say that. I
Mm-hmm.
just got away from it and memorized other things that I want to focus on, that I want to repeat to myself
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over during the day, every day, over and over and over. Like I said to the vestry, I'm the beloved child of an all-loving God. I trust in the love of the Lord. That's a prayer to me. That I say that, and I didn't learn it in school. I mean, that's not a memorized prayer, but that is, I call it an affirmational prayer. I am acknowledging the presence of God in my life and the pervasive presence of God in my life. The opportunity to love. One of my granddaughters said to me once a few years ago, "Bobby, you have a lot of spots on your face." And I said, "Erin, they're love spots. You get them because you love and you have been loved." And she didn't buy that. But I was only kidding. I mean, I was only partly kidding. I thought, I'm so fortunate to be able to get old and to have loved and been loved. I'm
Yeah.
so crazy fortunate. Certainly I remember the Lord's Prayer, and I remember other prayers that we learned, and again, I don't object to them. My prayer just, it just changed. And I think back in one of the blogs that I used to write, I made a post about how my mom prayed. And even, excuse me, excuse me, even when she was near the end, you know, she finished her last few years very slowly, deteriorating. But even then, she could hardly get around at all. She still prayed for other people. So I think about that. Try to, you know, pray for other people. I don't have to make myself do it, but I pray for my kids. I pray for my grandkids. So, yeah. When you, it sounded like you said you can hear your mom and hear her singing and etc. What do you picture when you pray? You said you pray all day long. And I do a lot during the day myself. And sometimes especially if I'm driving and I'm in the car alone, I'll just say it out loud. Just talk right out loud. Yeah. Pray out loud, I mean.
Yeah.
But what do you picture when you pray?
I picture that I'm talking to someone. I feel like I have a presence with me and that I'm being heard. And I don't really know what it looks like, you know, because I want to make it something that I recognize from around here, but I know it's not what I would recognize. You know, it's not, I don't know what Jesus is now, but, you know, or even how to put God in some kind of context. But I know that when I'm talking, I'm not just talking. I know that I'm being heard, and I'm being almost like cared for or surrounded somehow.
I understand, for sure.
And there's lots of hard stuff going on with some of my friends right now, and so I just say little prayers, you know, just
help so and so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just walking through the hallway or something, you know, just right now, just doing it. Just praying and yeah. To watch over them and a lot of what I pray for is I don't pray for. This is kind of a funny story. One time in Rogers Hall, there was a little Bible study going on with Father Ellen, and I think I only went to one or two of them. I don't know why. I don't know if it didn't continue or I just didn't continue it. And we were, this one time we were talking about praying and talking to God about what you want. And I said, I wasn't raised to do that. I wasn't prayed. I wasn't taught, you know, to ask for things from God, like things, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm gonna ask for a pretty dress, or, you know, growing up,
I want
or
a new car.
Yeah, or a new car. Obviously, you know, or a bigger house, but he said, God wants you to ask for that. And I'm like, you're blowing my mind right now. And I said, okay, kind of jokingly, then I need, you know, and I'm leaning on the table, I need more money. And my son's going to school, so I need money for him to go to school. And I went to work not a week later and was offered a full-time job from a half-time job, from part-time.
Wow.
And I just couldn't believe it. And then I'm a teacher, and there was a shortage, there still is, of subs and teachers and everything. So in schools, what they're doing is, if teacher's sick and there's no sub for them, then they have that whole classroom with no teacher. So can somebody else who doesn't have a classroom that works in the school, certificated person, go in and take that class? And you get paid, you know, extra for doing that extra job.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happened a lot for me that year too.
Wow.
I had that extra pay on top of that. And that enabled me to help with tuition and everything, you know, and then there really wasn't any more reason. I was lucky enough to, and I thank God every day for that too. When my mom, for years, she was sick, and it was just me to help guide and take care of her. My sister's in Oregon, so I had this flexible job of at first substituting, and I could still keep that position because they didn't care if you didn't work really, you know. And then this was years ago, and then I had a part-time position so I could still take care of her and do all of that. And then she passed, so there wasn't any reason for me not to work full-time, but I didn't even think to ask for that, you know,
Yeah.
of anybody.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there times of day for myself I particularly am conscious of what I call first and last, first thoughts and last thoughts? You know, when I wake up, take charge of what I'm saying, take charge of, and I have trouble with that sometimes because my mind wanders, and I mean, I could be halfway through a prayer and it's already wandering.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, get back here, come on, get back here, start over. I do better at night, taking charge of my last thoughts, acknowledge my faith, acknowledge my trust. I was a teacher for 36 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a real estate license when I was a college kid and sold in the summers, 84 through.
Oh, okay.
That was a long time ago, July of 1971. Yeah. But I sold in the summers 84 through 93 and was very happy as a teacher. I loved it. I really loved it. And then just decided in 2008, I just want to do something different before I'm too old. I'm going to be a full-time real estate broker. So I have been I taught one more year, since 2009. And when I left the classroom, I knew the owner of a company in Shoreline, Fireside Homes, and I just went to his office and said, I'm going to leave the classroom and get my license here. A gift. I got to be good friends with him, really good friends. And we fished some, and actually I was one of the eulogists at his funeral. And he had stage 4 neck cancer, not throat, neck, and it grows very, very slowly. And by the time they catch it, it's almost always stage 4, and you don't have much chance of making it. At least I'm sure that's true. That's what he said, and he died from it eventually. But, excuse me. I remember asking him. His name was Ron Hamill. When basically they said, you can do some more treatment, but we're just prolonging the inevitable. You've got this much time. And I think it might have been when they told him he had 6 months more max. But I said, where do you think you're going? What do you think's next? And he said, I've had a good life. Certainly I've had adversity and things that didn't go my way, but he said, there's just so many things I'm grateful for, and that's how it ends. I'll end grateful, and Alicia was his wife. Alicia will have me put in a coffin and bury me, and I'll turn to dust. And I said, that's it, and I didn't argue with him because I don't think that, but I just thought, wow. Mostly we called him Hamill. I thought, wow, Hamill, I'm looking forward to seeing you, And I asked Alicia about it after he died, and she said, I had the same conversation with him, but she said, I just said to him, oh, Ronnie, you're in for such a surprise.
Oh.
You are in for such a surprise. And so I think he was in for a surprise. Yeah. Our first son was born in 1980, and I don't remember all the numbers. I might remember them. But Katie was in labor for hours and hours and hours, and finally it was a cesarean, and he was just like a rubber chicken when they brought him out, and they'd been talking about vacation and chit-chatting, and I thought, that's pretty casual for what you're doing right now. And then the conversation stopped altogether, and I thought, oh, now they're nervous. It's not just me, which made me more nervous. But he would look like a rubber chicken, just a white rubber chicken. And I think there's 5 0 to 2 APGAR score items, and he was 0 on everything except heartbeat.
Wow.
Yeah, and skin tone 0, cry 0, breathing 0, heartbeat 2. I don't remember what the other thing was, but we were worried he might not make it, but he did make it, and he thrived. And I've thought about that, how difficult that birth was. I think about that a lot, and I think, what if that's what it's like when you die? What if you think, if you could even think, when you're born, you have no awareness of what's next, no awareness of who's waiting there for you, no awareness, no ability to begin to comprehend. Whew. And so, a lot of times that's how I visualize what's next. I have no ability to comprehend. I'm like Joseph, being born. And I don't remember the name of the book, Kathy, but Kate's read it too. We were talking about it the other day. Doggone it, I forgot the name of it, but it's interviews with people who had near-death experiences. I think it's 20 interviews, and to a person, they all say, "So-and-so welcomed me. So-and-so was there," and then some of them say, "I didn't want to come back."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I gotta find the name of that book. But anyway, what do you think's next after we die?
I don't know. I don't think we just. I'm gonna be cremated, but I don't think I'm just gonna be dust in the bowl. I mean, my body is, but I really think we go on to something else, and I think it's like really, really, really different. Like what you said about being born and not knowing, I think that's really a cool. That's so interesting. Because that little baby is alive, but it has no idea what's next.
None at all.
Completely.
And now he's a dad.
And like surrounded by a liquid, and then coming
I'm
out.
safe and comfortable. Why would I want to change? Yeah.
And then all the incredible things in their life. Becoming a parent, which is like the ultimate. But my mom, she was very sick at the end. She was sick a lot in her life. And she was very sick and got really, really frail. And we have these interviews with the nurses and stuff. What do you want in your, is it do not resuscitate, or no, I want everything. I want you to
That's what your mom
do
said?
everything you can.
Oh.
And one time, this one nurse, I thought, she has nerve, but she was just stating a fact. Now, if they do CPR, I'm going to break bones and stuff.
Yeah, they're going to crush your ribs.
And I thought, I've never even thought about that. But my mom was always just adamant, no, I want you to do everything. She did not want to die. She wanted to be here. She wanted to be with us. She just held on to the love of her family. But when it came time for her to go, she was very sick, and she had a lot of things wrong with her body, and she was not comfortable for years. He was very uncomfortable for years. And I was with her the last days when I could be in the nursing home because of COVID, one person at a time could be in there. And so when they said, this is it, because she had 9 lives. She would go to the hospital. We would go to the
We paused because the battery went dead, so we're picking up again. You were talking about your mom, Kathy.
and she was in all those times, you know, when she was, we'd have to have that talk every year. What did they want to do when she was in the nursing home? And every time it was just, yes, you know, let's do this, do everything. And then finally, a year or so before she died, they had somebody from palliative care come in. I don't even know what that was. And she was a doctor, and she sat down with us in a very loving, caring way and told us, here are their choices, and is this really what you want to go on? And she was very loving and caring about it, and helped us realize that's not the best. That really isn't the best, you know. So we came to a different agreement. But my mom I said she had 9 lives. We went to the ER, and this one doctor took me aside, and I was scared, and I thought, oh my God, this is, you know, but she rallied so many times. I couldn't believe it. But in the end, when they told us that it was the end, she was ready.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat with her, and we had to go in one at a time. And my daughter Morgan brought in our yellow lab. She's not a big one, but she brought her in, and because my mom loved dogs, and she knew Charlie, and I said, just don't let her on the bed, because she was on this air mattress thing for her skin. So it's just like a big, almost balloon, but obviously it was, you know, thicker than that. And I said, I don't think you should let her on the bed, because what happens if she pops the bed with her nails or something? You know, we don't need to put another monkey wrench in here. Well, they went in that room, and Charlie jumped right up on the bed. And my mom was so happy to see her. And she was talking to her.
Good.
And Morgan remembers, she said, and you made the dogs, you made all the animals. And Morgan said, what are you trying to ask me or tell me or something? Because, you know, her voice was quiet, and then she realized, oh, she's not talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was at peace. She was peaceful there.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get upset. My mom wasn't upset through that whole time. It was weeks. And she never got upset. She never got scared or anything like that. And she just laid there peacefully, and she knew I was there, and then in the end she said, remember me, and that was the last thing she said. And then a day or two after that, she died. But I knew she was good. I knew it was all right and good. And then I was remembering about my dad, who was not dead, and his brother, though, died like about 5, maybe.
Did you say my dad
My
was
dad.
not dead?
My dad's not dead.
Oh, okay.
But his brother died about 5 or more years ago. And he knew he was sick and he was dying. And so my dad was on a trip, and his brother called him to say goodbye, because they were in different states. And my dad told me that he was, you know, talking and listening to everything Press had to say, and then he said, all right. And he told him, you know, I'm calling to say goodbye.
Wow.
And my dad, who I said, didn't really go to church with us or anything, but so he said, okay, I'll see you later to Press. And Press said, Bill, I'm telling you goodbye right now. He said, I know.
I'll still see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're souls inside a body, not a body that happens to have a soul. Yeah. Yeah. My dad died very suddenly when I was 16, in the middle of the night. Very traumatic. My mom suddenly was a single parent of 5 kids.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, and I would say I think about that most every day, but I don't think about it with bitterness. I think about it. I talk to him. I like to fish a lot, and he took me fishing. Took all of us fishing, but I'm the only one that took to it. And my earliest memory that I'm pretty sure I can place in time is just about, I think I'm not quite 5, I'm pretty sure. And I remember walking out on this dock with like this much space between the boards and no railings. It was a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared of those spaces, like I was going to fall through them. But I remember fishing and liking it. And to this day, I started fly fishing in 1971. And
Wow.
yeah, and took to it right away and just really liked it and gave up the gear and gear fishing. And I still, when I approach the water, I still thank him for taking me fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I used to say back then, thanks for taking me fishing, help me to catch fish today. Yeah, that's good. And then I got so, without deciding, I just caught more and more fish and finally just started saying prayer changes, thanks for taking me fishing, thanks for all the fish I've caught. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1980, our oldest son was born, and without making a big decision, I just started saying, thanks for taking me fishing, help me be a good dad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then one day, in, you would have been, I think the summer of '74. Yeah, the summer of '74. I went to Idaho to fish with a guy I'd met. He's 20 years older than me. We fished a different river every day and finished on Silver Creek, one of the blue ribbon trout streams in North America. It was really quite a trip, but on the 3rd day, I slipped and almost drowned in the Big Wood River.
Wow.
And was being washed down the river and up against the log jam. And if I had caught a hold of the log jam and got my foot on something, that would have been it. And they say your life passes in front of you. It really does.
Really?
Yeah, it really does. You see stuff. Think, I didn't even know I remembered that. And I didn't remember that. It just goes just very quickly. So after that, I started saying, thanks for taking me fishing. Thanks for the fish that I've got. Keep me safe today. Started praying for that. And then started saying, help me to be a good dad. And then we had grandkids, and I started saying, help me to be a good dad and a good papa. So certainly I talk to my mom and my dad when I pray, but there's lots of times when I'm talking to a presence, talking to warm light, talking to presence
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have a face,
Mm-hmm.
that for me doesn't need a face.
Right.
I'm very comfortable talking to my mom and dad, but it isn't just that. Yeah. I believe that I certainly will see them and my aunts and uncles and my grandparents, and sometimes I wonder, there's some people I'd like to meet that I never knew. I'd like to meet Martin Luther King. I wonder if I'll get that chance. Or if that book with people being greeted by others that died before him, and how comforting that was, and how some of them said, I just didn't want to go back. But meaning, I didn't want to come back
Right.
here.
Right.
I wanted to stay there. It was so peaceful and comforting. So I like life, and I have lots of zest and energy, and there's so many things I still want to do. But I work to remember every day, try. Some days I'm better at it than others, Kathy. Some days I'm not so good at it. Get grumpy about things that I shouldn't be grumpy about. But I try to remember every day that, what's next is good.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge that, and that's part of faith. And
Mm-hmm.
and it all fits together to me. It's also part of prayer. Different kinds of prayer. Prayers of supplication, prayers of gratitude, prayers of belief. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
They all go together for me. Well, I sure have appreciated the chance to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm very honored to have been asked.
I hope other people will do it, and I said to you when I asked, or maybe it was the next day, another day at church, where I said that when you came to Kate and I were confirmed on May 7th in the Episcopal Church, and you came, we were so surprised and so honored, so flattered. It was just, we were both just really touched. Thank you. So when I started talking about this at home, and said, it's not the first crazy idea I've had in 45 years of being married, 44 and 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
I throw it out there, and how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? I don't know. I gotta think about that. And what are your goals? And I'm still thinking about that. I'm gonna do this, or I might do that. But one of the things I said early on was, as I think about this, I think this will startle some people if I ask them. It's going to startle anybody I ask until they've seen a few other people do it. I said, I think I'm going to ask Kathy Crosby first.
It's so kind.
Thank you.
Just so
Oh, gosh.
touched.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I really do feel honored.
Thank you. And I hope I will save it and upload it to YouTube. I thought you had told me, I'm pretty sure you told me there's a vestry meeting this weekend
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah,
Sunday after
yeah,
church.
yeah.
I'll try and have it ready. I have appointments tomorrow, and we have a big family gathering on Saturday, 22, I think.
Fun.
People coming over. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. We have a big pumpkin carving contest.
Oh.
And it's a lot of fun, mostly for the grandkids. It was fun for the kids, now it's
That's a
fun for
good
the kids.
idea.
Yeah. So I don't know that I'll make it. I don't know that I'll have it uploaded by then, but I'm gonna try. So if not, I'll for
Yeah,
sure have it
that's-
uploaded for them, and then I'll send out a link, and I hope
Well,
I
I
hope-
think it's a grand idea.
I hope other people, well, maybe, if you felt good about this, maybe you could say something at the vestry meeting,
Oh, yeah.
even if I don't have it
Okay,
up.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, like Gwen said, we go to church and we do our thing and we get busy and then we get committees and we, and you know, and there's a reason we all go to church, different reasons for each other, you know, on our own, but do we ever really stop and think about this kind of thing
Mhm.
and really
Yeah.
discuss it, or even, you know, if we don't talk about it with ourselves, why would we really, you know, and who's going to ask us about this kind of thing? That just doesn't, nobody's ever said anything like this to me before, you know, so
And yet it's at our core.
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's what it's all about, what we're doing all this about, I think, and but to sit down and really think and talk about it and share, and just,
Thank you.
yeah, it's great.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. I will. I'm going to turn it off.
Yeah.
Unless you have something else you want to say
No.
or ask.